Welcome to today's edition of Passion for Difference TV. Today we'll be looking at abuse, and with me in studio is Ashura.
Giving knowledge, building excellence, learning from the experience of others.
Ashura, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Gift.
Please introduce yourself and tell us a bit more about what you've been doing.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. This is Ashura Kayupayupa from Tanzania. I'm living in Bergen now for the last 4 years. I'm a mom to a smart girl who is 5. And my background is law and human rights. So I have a bachelor in law. I am educated by the British law system and master's degree in human rights from Austria, Vienna. At the moment, I work for a public sector, especially with immigrant and refugees family.
So, Ashura, we've discussed a bit about abuse, but it's a very broad topic and a very interesting one. A very sensitive topic. People don't want to discuss it, and anytime we talk about abuse, the first thing that comes to mind is hitting or domestic violence. Can you please explain the different types of abuse?
Thank you very much. I'm honored actually to be invited once again at one of your programs, Passion for Difference. And I was honored to receive feedback that people received our first series with an open hand, that they got a little bit aware about violence. As you said, violence can be very complicated and difficult topic to approach, because we assume that we are good people, and it's good to assume that other people are good people as well. But to be aware will prevent you from experiencing abuse or your loved ones. So abuse, as I said, is complicated, and it's not just hitting, as normally people would ask survivors and victims. If I say somebody is abusive, they say, but they didn't hit you. So that's wrong. And normally people would say, oh, but we can have some kind of conflict as people, as we relate to each other. We can have misunderstanding. Is every misunderstanding abuse? So the important test is abuse has a pattern. So for example, someone can be rude to you once in a while because they had a bad day or they didn't sleep well. And you know, like, okay, they will, for example, apologize and say, sorry, I was rude to you, because, I mean, I shouldn't do it, but I was tired. But abusive people, they calculate their behaviors to undermine you and to make you feel small and to, in general term, abuse you so you feel worthless. And they may say things like a comment which are intrusive, and they repeat themselves. So abuse has a repetitive behavior. After some years, you come to realize, this person has been treating me the same, years in, years out. And normally they would say sorry, and you think, oh, maybe if it's a friend or a neighbor, whatever, co-worker, colleague, or a husband, wife, girlfriend, and you think, oh, maybe they have good intention. But after some time, you sit down and realize, this has been happening over and over again. So there you can say that there's abuse. And another test is, you ask yourself, can I say something like this to somebody or do something like this? And if you're a good person or reasonable person, you think, I cannot do that. So that could be a good test. Like, it's abuse. Somebody wants to, put you down, and so they can feel better. They may have different insecurities, but so.
Right.
It's not our job to determine or to say, okay, because of this and this, that's why they treat me this way.
And we want to create awareness. As immigrants living in a different country, we might not be confident enough to address these issues. We might not be in the position of power to, challenge systems and routines and processes that might be abusive to us. Any stake on that one? How do we address this situation?
Yeah, like I said last time, report abuse anytime, every time you experience it. No excuse. even though there may be a consequence. And I realize in this culture, they don't like confrontation or a conflict to the extent that if you report a conflict, then you are the problem and not the conflict or the problem itself. So document is very important. Document abuse and report it no matter what. There may be consequences, but at least you shed the light. If people didn't know about the experience or behavior, then they can start to watch out for it and hopefully find a solution in the long run. But it's very important to stand up for yourself, to know that nobody is there for you. You have to protect yourself and be kind to yourself enough to say, I'm not accepting such behaviors, and I'm going to protect myself.
Thank you. We also want to look at friendship and, you know, one-on-one relations, daily, you know, relations. How does abuse come in?
Yeah, so abuse come in when there's a lack of respect and reciprocity. And I mean, that's everything. If you look around any kind of relationship, if you don't respect someone you are in relationship with, if you don't reciprocate, if you don't respect someone that you're in relationship, whatever kindness or whatever service they do to you, right, then it becomes abusive, because one person takes the other for granted. And like, yeah, you're there. They will ask for help, for example, every day from you. Let's say you have a friend, a girlfriend, and you're both single mothers. And this other friend is watching after your child, for example, every weekend or every other weekend. But when you ask me to watch after your child, I'm like, I have so many excuses year in, year out. And you come to realize, I've been babysitting Ashura's child for some time, but she has never done to me. And we are friends? Like, what's going on? So when you start asking yourself and then see the pattern, and you see that this person does not respect you or reciprocate what you do for them, so then it can be abusive, because it's one-way relationship when it shouldn't be that way. A relationship has to be two ways.
Well, viewers, as you listen, we'd like you to send in your comments, your suggestions or questions, and we'll make time to answer them and reach out to you. Once again, with me in studio today is Ashura, and the topic under discussion is abuse. How immigrants, families, individuals, wherever we find ourselves, can create awareness when it comes to abuse and abusive relationships.
Yeah.
Back to you. We want to look at the system and how we can get help. You have any advice on that?
Yeah, I'm very grateful to be invited, as I said, and especially on today's topic, which we ask ourselves, does service provider need to know different forms of abuse and its impact on families? It's very important, because it feels sometimes the system is perpetuating abuse on families.
Right.
Let's say a couple separated because of abuse and they have children. And the system believes that the right of parents to their kids overrides the abuse. So, for example, one parent claimed that there's been abuse in the relationship, that it harm the children. But the system think, no, a child deserves both parents, whether they're abusive or not, just because it was one person claiming and there's no evidence, no matter what kind of evidence one might have. So it's quite ironic, because if somebody was abusive in the public, on the street, they'll be taken by the police.
Right.
But if somebody is abusive at home, why is it not taken seriously? That this person is danger for the society or for the family, for example, and their children involved. So it's very important for families to be aware of how abuse is insidious and complicated, that they have to be trained actually to detect abuse, because not all the time that you see physical sign when people experience abuse, but you see emotional sign all the time if you are aware. And you see the impact it does on people. When people withdraw themselves, they isolate themselves, and they don't talk, they don't enjoy what they used to enjoy anymore. They are fearful, they like they are signs, but service providers don't care, or it seems like they don't care, and they say, oh, everything is fine, there's conflict. You two need to work together because there's a conflict, you need to protect children. How can children be protected between parents when one is abusive? And actually, when there's abuse, there's also power imbalance. You cannot treat these people equally because they're different. One is abusive and the other one is a victim. So then when you say, oh, you two have to work together, plus normally abusive people have more resources than the victim, or else it will be hard to, if you had more money, for example, and I was the poor one, it would be hard for me to abuse you. I'm not abusive, but it's a bad example. But I'm saying normally abusive people have more resources. That's why they abuse, because it's about power and control. I have everything and I have to control you and everything.
Right.
So then it doesn't work when they say two parents have to cooperate when there's abuse involved.
Right. We have a question. Can the abuser be changed? Can they be reformed, or can they realize that, okay, I didn't know what I was doing, but now I realize that I'm being abusive and I want to change my behavior, or there's no hope for someone who is an abuser?
That's a very good question. I think for anything in life, people have to decide for themselves if they want any change or difference. So I would assume it's the same for abusive people. They will have to accept that they are abusive and have the desire to change their abusive behavior, which is almost impossible. It's so hard for humans to change our own patterns. So until they hit the rock bottom, like anybody else, like me and you, we have hit our own rock bottoms to be better at something that we are better at now than we were before. So anybody has to have a personal reflection and personal journey to be a better version of themselves.
A very interesting question from the audience. Can women be abusers?
Definitely. Abuse has no gender, unfortunately. And actually, I was one of the persons who thought mostly men are abusive. I come from Tanzania, where it's the fact that over 40% of women experience abuse from men. So, and I've experienced abuse myself many times before. So my experience was most men abusive than women. But as I continue to live and learn, I realized that women too can be abusive. And the problem with abuse is that sometimes we reasonable people can be abusive too, because if you're not aware, if you want to help somebody and they didn't ask for help and you do that repetitively, it's abusive. Because you're disempowering them, thinking they cannot fix their own problems or find their own solutions. So abuse is a pattern that is very, very complicated, and that's why it's important to be aware. Am I being abusive when, I just jump on assisting people anytime, every time, even when you're not asked to? What does it mean for the other person?
Right.
In friendship, for example, you feel insecure for different reasons, and then you behave rudely towards your friend. And if you do that repetitively, for example, I like to have my red lipstick, and if you think I do that because I want to attract men, and so you become protective around your husband, in a way it can be abusive to me, because you're already treating me as a suspect. But I put red lipstick because I like it for myself. So if you're not aware, it can be abusive when we're friends. And I realized, Gift is acting strangely every time we meet with her husband. So maybe I should withdraw myself, or I should cut this friendship. It's just a bad example, but that can happen too in friendship. And or if somebody's working and you're not working, you think, why are they working? Instead of asking for help or advice, like, what did you do? What kind of networks did you make? You just start to, undermine your friend and diminish their accomplishment, because, you just want to feel better. So, it can be.
But before we end this talk, it will not be completed if we don't mention how immigrant parents' relationship with their children can be abusive. We know where we come from. We do all sorts of things And we think before, because we are the parents and we have the authority, we have the right to do things with all, with our children, and nobody questions us because we have the power, as you mentioned earlier. Please enlighten us on this.
Yes. It's so easy actually to be abusive than not to be, because if you're not aware, you just slip into that pattern of being abusive. So as you mentioned that we come from Africa, and there we were disciplined in a very violent way. It was abusive actually. When you cannot do your homework, you're being hit instead of being helped or asked what's the problem, or if you whatever. There's no dialogue. It's just that you do it what the elders say that you're going to do, whether you want it or not. You'll be asked to hug your uncle even if you don't want to. Like, that's your uncle, you have to hug them. No, but I don't feel safe or anything. No, they won't listen to you. So when we come here, and then this is a different culture, when we come here, we think like, oh, I can just raise my child the way I was raised. That's wrong. That can be abusive. So we need to be aware that children are human beings too, who are small. They just need our guidance and support. We need to nurture our children, we need to love them, and we need to teach them with the loving heart, and not with fear or intimidation or violence or whatever kind of things that some of us have experienced growing up. So that, with being aware, is the only thing that can help us to be a good enough of parent and not abusive one, because it's possible when we can work with our own fears and trauma from what we experience. We don't have to pass it on. It can stop with us.
Thank you very much, viewers. We will bring our discussion today to an end. But I promise you, this is not the last time we are meeting Ashura. She will be coming back. Please remember to subscribe to our channel, Passion for Difference TV. And I want to use this opportunity to thank my producer, director, cameraman, Dave Deal. I want to thank all those who are supporting this program, Passion for Difference team, our fans and supporters out there. You are awesome. Those who are viewing our videos, please send your comments in the chat, and don't hesitate to contact us if anything. I would like to thank Ashura for coming into the studio today to join us in this discussion, and you're coming back another time.
Definitely.
Thank you very much. It's Passion for Difference TV. Bless you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.